The airline industry now facing its worst economic hit since 9/11 and maybe worse, forcing companies to eliminate flights and slash spending. CEOs of major carriers are turning to Congress for nearly $60 billion in financial relief. Fox's Doug McElway has a story.
It's not much comfort to U.S. airlines, but the aviation crisis is hitting all the world's carriers, too. Lufthansa's CEO said the longer this crisis lasts, the more likely it is that the future of aviation cannot be guaranteed without state aid. Well, federal aid appears to be coming the way of U.S. airlines after they made a plea to Congress yesterday asking for a $60 billion bailout in order to avoid massive disruption and layoffs of up to 750,000 workers. This morning, the president's trade advisor, Peter Navarro, said most of that $60 billion request will be included in the form of loans to major industries that's included in the stimulus bill Congress is expected to pass this week.
In terms of impacted industries, it looks like about a $200 billion collateralized loan program. I think probably around 25% of that will go to the airlines, with the rest of it spread out.
Is that wishful thinking? En route to a meeting with House and Senate leaders this morning to put the finishing touches on the stimulus package, Speaker Pelosi said, "From my standpoint, we are apart." Then, after the leadership meeting was done, she questioned whether there will be a vote on Monday at all.
I don't know Monday, but we're still talking. It's on the Senate side now because that's their deadline for a vote, but we'll be introducing our own bill.
Leader McConnell is worried that House Democrats are making 11th-hour changes to the bill to include more worker protections.
One House Democrat, for example, said, "This is a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision." That's not what this is about.
McConnell remains confident that most rank-and-file Democrats are on board and that a vote will happen Monday. Speaker Pelosi, not so much. In Washington, Doug McElway, Fox News.